The music industry has always been said to be a dog-eat-dog world, but when it comes to the rap game, this musical death is sometimes a literal one, with rappers often finding themselves at odds with one another. NBA YoungBoy, for example, has become a bit of an enigma in the industry. But why do other rappers on the scene avoid NBA YoungBoy like he's the plague? And what is it about his life that has the rest of the industry looking elsewhere for collaborations? Let's find out. Interact with us. Subscribe and hit the notification button to be notified when we upload more content. Don't forget to leave a like and comment below. Also, feel free to suggest any type of videos you would like to see on this channel. Thanks. YoungBoy's love for violence. First things first, it's important to realize that YoungBoy didn't exactly grow up in the best of circumstances. After his father was sentenced to a grand total of 55 years behind bars, he was pawned off onto his grandmother, who did her best to bring him up in a society rife with crime. But this wasn't exactly an easy task, with NBA eventually finding that crime pays more than the odd jobs he had around the neighborhood. And while this type of criminal activity started out as nothing more than a means to pay for studio time, it must be said that it didn't take long before they began to define who the Baton Rouge rapper really was. But in November of 2016, this type of conduct eventually caught up with him, leading to YoungBoy being arrested after he fired a few shots at some people on South Baton Rouge Street. Suffice to say, NBA was charged with 2 counts of attempted murder, and after being found guilty of these charges, spent a full year in prison. When the rapper was finally released in 2017, though, he appeared to have turned over a new leaf. That is, until February of 2018, which is when he was arrested for violating his probation by assaulting a man on the street. Do new age rappers appreciate what YoungBoy is throwing down? That wasn't the end of YoungBoy's violent streak, though. As it turns out, the iconic rapper then found it in himself to assault his ex-girlfriend, Jania Jackson, which not only tarnished his name, but caused him to serve another year of probation on top of everything else he was facing. So when it comes to throwing things down, it goes without saying that NBA YoungBoy is no pushover. And since the rap game is less about gratuitous violence nowadays and more about solving problems with the release of diss tracks, it makes sense that artists wouldn't want to get on NBA's bad side. That being said, this reputation that has followed him has also resulted in YoungBoy becoming isolated from the community, which has unfortunately led to him seeking solace in his own street gang known solely as Never Broke Again. As of right now, it seems like the only rapper willing to give NBA the time of day is Quando Rondo, who recently spoke up in an interview about why he and YoungBoy have been excluded from the rap game. He went on record stating that other rap artists in the game don't like them because they do whatever they want to, regardless of what the big names in the industry want. And essentially, they're not scared to stand up for themselves if they feel like they've been dissed. Does this mean that YoungBoy was too late to the party? Funny enough, this is an attitude that would have earned NBA some serious street cred back in the day. But since the rap industry is no longer defined by criminal actions, with artists like Logic and NF making waves without ever having to sit in the back of a police car, it makes sense to say that YoungBoy was a bit late to the party. If he had just been born a generation or two sooner, he would probably be sitting next to the likes of Biggie or Tupac. But unfortunately for him, the industry changed and left the attitude he was born with in the past where it belongs. And it's not like violence is completely absent from rap nowadays. It's there, just verbal rather than physical. And as we mentioned earlier, YoungBoy now has his own crew that he rolls with, something that his fans really seem to appreciate about him. In fact, it's why many consider him to be the last real rapper around. But it goes without saying that this attitude of shoot first and ask questions later has resulted in him receiving less collaborative tracks and help along the way. It's a pretty unfortunate situation for NBA, who grew up thinking that this was the way to make a success of himself in the industry. But musical artists need to be amenable to change, and if there's one thing YoungBoy doesn't have, it's an ability to change. What about his past controversies, though? YoungBoy never never broke again has also made a name for himself by being one of the most disrespectful rappers in the industry. For those of you who don't know, the rap game is pretty much ruled by respect. So when the young rapper went after a respected icon of the industry, others had a pretty adverse reaction to working with him. We are, of course, referring to the situation in which he spoke out against Nipsey Hussle, who still rules the charts and is considered by experts to be one of the most influential rappers of the past decade. What happened between Nipsey and NBA though? Well, nothing really. In fact, the artists have never actually met in person before. You see, it all started back in August of 2019, just a few months after Nipsey had been murdered, when DJ Academics asked Young Boy in an impromptu interview how Nipsey's death had impacted him. The rapper responded by saying that he can't show fake love to someone he never knew, causing the other rappers in the industry to turn their chins up at NBA. And since respect is such a big thing in the industry, this didn't do much to help Young Boy make friends amongst the other artists in the rap game. Suffice to say, nobody wanted to be associated with the man who hit back at Nipsey. How does continued police attention play a role? But by far the biggest reason behind rappers avoiding NBA as much as possible has to do with his arrest in March of this year by the Federal Bureau of Investigations. Since the FBI only make an arrest once it has solid evidence against a criminal, the rapper has received a lot of attention from law enforcement officials, making anyone standing beside him a suspect to be questioned. And it looks like NBA is guilty of more than rubbing rap artists the wrong way with his conduct. In fact, he actually decided to flee from the police after being asked to pull over. According to reports, the officials on site had to call in the K9 unit to finally track him down, after which he was promptly arrested. For those of you who don't know, this is all in connection with an arrest that took place in September of last year, where NBA was among 16 men arrested for an alleged drug and gun operation. He was also caught carrying around $47,000 US cash on him at the time, calling into question whether this was drug money. According to sources, the FBI appears to have enough evidence to convict the rapper on RICO charges, which would see him being held liable for all crimes committed by his street gang while under his leadership. Suffice to say, NBA YoungBoy is pretty hot at the moment, and no other rapper wants to be associated with him in case they attract the attention of the FBI. And there you have it. All the reasons why YoungBoy never broke again is avoided as much as possible at the moment. But what do you think about his treatment by the broader community? And is this at all unfair? Well, feel free to let us know in the comment section down below.